John stared blankly at the mirror, his eyes tracing the lines of his face, searching for any sign of the man who used to be him. The reflection gazed back, a stranger's eyes, hollow and haunted. The events of the past few weeks had left him reeling, like a ship without anchor. It started with small things: a missed phone call, an unexplained absence, a faint scent on his pillow. At first, John brushed it off as mere paranoia, but the nagging feeling persisted. He tried to convince himself that Linda was still committed to their marriage, that she would never betray him so callously. But the clues kept piling up: a suspicious text message from an unknown number, a cryptic conversation with a coworker about taking care of business. The words swirled in his mind like a toxic storm, each one fueling his growing sense of unease. And then, the unthinkable. A glimpse of Linda's phone, her browser history revealing a trail of incriminating searches: how to end a marriage without pain, affair tips for beginners. The words seared themselves into John's brain like a branding iron. The final straw came when he stumbled upon a compromising photo on her phone, a picture of Linda and William, their bodies entwined in a passionate embrace. The image was seared into his mind, a permanent scar that would never heal. John's world crumbled around him. He felt like he'd been punched in the gut, the air knocked out of him. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All he could do was stare at the photo, his mind reeling with questions. How could she do this to me? Why would she betray me so? The anger and hurt simmered just below the surface, waiting to boil over. John knew he had to confront Linda, but a part of him was terrified of what he might find. As he stood outside their bedroom door, his heart racing with anticipation, he took a deep breath and steeled himself for the worst. He pushed open the door, and the room seemed to shrink around him. Linda sat on the bed, her eyes downcast, her face pale. William was nowhere to be seen, but John could sense his presence, like a shadow lurking just out of sight. "Where is he?" John demanded, his voice low and menacing. Linda hesitated, her eyes darting around the room before finally meeting John's gaze. "I don't know what you're talking about," she lied, her voice trembling. John laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. "Don't lie to me, Linda. I've seen the photos. I've talked to people who have seen you together. You're not even trying to hide it." Linda's eyes welled up with tears, but John just shook his head. "You're not sorry," he spat. "You're not even capable of feeling sorry. You're too busy living your own little fantasy world, one that doesn't include me." The words cut deep, and for a moment, Linda looked like she might collapse. But then her face hardened, and she stood up, her eyes blazing with defiance. "I'm sorry," she spat back at him. "I'm sorry you can't handle the truth. You're just too weak to let go." John felt a surge of anger, but he took a step back, his mind racing with the implications of what Linda was saying. Was she right? Was he weak? As the reality of their situation sunk in, John realized that he had been living in a state of denial for far too long. He couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay when it wasn't. With a heavy heart, John turned and walked away from the room, leaving Linda and her infidelity behind. The shattered reflection in the mirror stared back at him, but this time he saw a glimmer of hope, a chance to pick up the pieces and start anew. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but John knew that he had to face his demons head-on. He couldn't change the past, but he could shape the future. And for that, he needed to find a way to forgive himself, to let go of the anger and hurt, and to move forward no matter how painful it might be. As he walked away from the wreckage of their marriage, John knew that he would never forget Linda and what she had done to him. But he also knew that he couldn't let her define him. He was more than this moment, more than this pain. He was a man who deserved better, a man who deserved love, respect, and honesty. And with those words echoing in his mind, John took his first step towards healing, towards redemption, and towards a future where he could finally find peace.